Okay, this is part 2 of Ammo's e-collar session. So this session right here that you're going to be seeing is not the second session. It's actually several sessions later. And what I did is the first video that I put of her doing e-collar for the first time, I did that same thing several sessions. So I did that for days. And if you go back to that video, you'll see that all I did was stim feed. I was just making that introduction to the e-collar, to the stimulation, and I wanted it to be nice and pleasant and not the end of the world like it happens to be with a lot of dogs if you introduce them some other way. So by doing it this way, I got her to understand what the e-collar meant, and it never meant a bad thing. So after doing that for several sessions, then I move on to what I'm going to be doing next, which is now I'm adding some escape conditioning. But escape conditioning, what I mean is the dog learns to turn off the stimulation. And I'm still doing this by pairing it up with food, but I'm also using my leash. I'm using some body pressure. I'm moving away to help her, guide her towards me. And I'm using even verbal cues to let her know, hey, come do this, heel, come to me. All of these things that she already is familiar with, and I'm just adding the e-collar as a stimulation to let her know that as soon as she commits in this direction, the stimulation goes away. So she learns to turn it off. But it is also done in a very low level. So the whole thing, the whole time that you see in this session, I'm still on level 1. Now remember, it's level 1 out of 7. And each level in that collar has medium, low, medium, and high. So I'm playing between 1 and high on level 1. So I'm still pairing it up with food, but now I'm adding a little bit of turning it on, turning it off. But I want her attitude to be nice and happy. I want her to be happy the entire time. So I want her to enjoy the training session. That's why you'll see her nice and happy and not stressed out, because that's how I want them. Okay, so as I was explaining earlier, what I'm doing here is I'm stimming, and I'm now adding some physical cues. I'm adding the leash, my body, so I'm moving away to give her a little bit of a guidance, visual guidance. I'm also giving verbal cues, and I'm pairing it up with food still. I don't want this to be stressful. E-collar is just a form of pressure. And just like any form of pressure, it can be mild. It could be introduced in a nice, proper way with no stress, or it could also be introduced with a lot of stress. I don't want a lot of stress for this type of conditioning. I want it to be very enjoyable. It's just a feeling. It's just a feeling that is neutral, and I'm turning it into this means something good, but it also means I want you to do this. So in this case, I'm working on the come to me. So basically close the gap. That's how the stimulation, this mild little sensation goes away. But if you look at her, she's happy. And that's what I was saying earlier. It just does not good to me to have a dog that looks stressed out. It's not enjoyable. I don't like to see dogs shut down. I see trainers that they pride themselves in getting dogs to heel in one session, but the dogs look like complete garbage. I don't like that, so I'd rather take my time, and this is why I like to do the introduction of the e-collar this way. Is I'm stimming first in the first video. It's stim feed, letting the dog know, hey, this means something good, this means something good. Now I'm letting the dog know you can turn this off by doing this, and on top of that, you also get paid. So it's a win-win situation for the dog, and it's very clear. And then eventually I'm going to move on to using the e-collar as more clear prompts and even corrections. But as of right now, this is still the conditioning phase. So super happy. I'm very animated. I'm rewarding her with food every time. There's a stimulation right there, and I'm letting her know, hey, dude, real quick, just this means come to me. And I'm on top of that adding the verbal cue to let her know, hey, come here. Or I'm using heel. So heel and come, they're really essentially the same thing, which means come to me. Close the gap, get closer to me. And when she does well, obviously I'm going to reward her. One of the other thing I was doing too in a different session is I was occasionally doing that stim and feed. And remember, I'm also using level 1 out of 7. This is level 1, and I'm going between 1 low, 1 medium, 1 high. And right there, I'm doing this escape conditioning, which is a type of reinforcement, negative reinforcement, but I'm also using positive reinforcement here. Now, this is not the second session. I want to reiterate that this is not the second session. This is part 2, but it is not the second session. I've done several sessions like the previous video, and now I'm starting to do this, escape conditioning. And I'm gonna do this again a bunch of times. And once I do this a bunch of times, then I'm going to then turn it into more clear prompts, more corrections if I need to, and then eventually we're gonna get off leash. She's not a board and trained dog. She's not a client's dog. She's one of my friend's dogs that I'm watching for the time being. So I don't have a deadline. I don't have a timeline. She doesn't have to get done, in like 2 weeks, 4 weeks, or anything like that. I'm just kind of taking my time. I'm watching her, and while I'm watching her, I'm doing some training with her. So I'm doing some e-collar training. I'm doing some bite work. And now what I'm doing here is I'm giving her a jackpot. This is the jackpot, which to her it's tug, and very nice way to end the session. Just remember to like and subscribe if you like this video.